Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating book, Muhammad al-Masih's The Art of Human Sovereignty. And our mission for you today is to figure out why, in an era where you have absolutely limitless choices, you might still feel like you aren't truly leading your own life, and how you can actually reclaim your inner center.
Yeah, it is really the absolute definition of the modern paradox of choice. I mean, having everything but feeling like you control nothing.
Right, because usually when we talk about freedom, there's this expectation of control. Like you're driving a car, right? You have the keys, you've got the open road, and you just point the steering wheel and say, hey, that's where I'm going.
Exactly. We really like the idea that more choices equal more control. It's basically what the modern world promises us every single day.
But then, you step out into that world with its infinite options and constant notifications, and suddenly that steering wheel feels totally disconnected. We're looking at this landscape of endless freedom that is honestly just kind of paralyzing.
It is. And to understand that paralysis, al-Masih separates external freedom from true human sovereignty.
Okay, wait, how does he define the difference there?
Well, external freedom is simply having options. But sovereignty isn't about controlling the world or achieving absolute independence. It's your capacity to live from your center and, choose your response to life's unavoidable constraints.
Oh, I like that. It actually reminds me of surfing. You can't control the ocean's waves, right?
Right, exactly. The ocean does what it wants.
But yeah, you can't control the weather or the tide. Those are your external circumstances. True sovereignty is your ability to balance on the board and choose your path through the water as the wave just crashes around you.
That's a perfect analogy. And taking that surfing analogy a step further, the core of staying on that board lives in a very specific tiny space.
Which is what, exactly?
It's the gap between a stimulus and your response. Like when a wave hits, do you panic or do you instantly shift your weight?
Yeah. And in our modern age, algorithms and notification fatigue are just constantly pushing us to react instantly.
Exactly. Defending that tiny gap between what happens to you and how you react isn't just a philosophical ideal anymore. It is a fundamental survival skill.
So if true sovereignty is happening inside us in that tiny gap, it makes me realize my inside isn't just one single dial I can turn. I mean, I've got my physical energy, my thoughts, my emotional state.
Yeah, and al-Masih maps this inner ecosystem into 7 dimensions.
7? That sounds like a lot to keep track of.
It is. They range from your physical energy and conscious awareness all the way to your social ties and behaviors. And because we are complex systems, these dimensions can actually crash into each other.
Like they interfere with one another.
Yeah, he calls this colliding sovereignties. Think about what happens when you have incredibly high physical energy, but very low conscious awareness.
Oh, I see. So the mechanism there naturally leads to destructive impulsiveness. You just react without thinking.
Exactly. And on the flip side, you might have immense cognitive clarity where you know exactly what you need to do, but you have zero behavioral execution.
Which just results in total paralysis. You're completely trapped in your own head. I mean, I have to admit, just hearing that makes me a little anxious.
I totally get that, yeah.
Doesn't trying to actively manage 7 different dimensions of your mind and body all at once just create a new kind of modern exhaustion?
Well, it definitely would if you were trying to be flawless, but the goal here is integration, not perfection.
Okay, so it's not about perfectly balancing all 7 plates and never making a mistake.
No, not at all. By biological nature, human beings will become distracted or emotionally triggered. Sovereignty is simply about how quickly you can recognize that you are drifting and return to your center.
The metric of success is the speed of your recovery, then.
Exactly. It's how fast you catch yourself.
Applying this practically, it makes me think about my phone. If perfection is impossible, I don't need raw willpower to fight the urge to scroll.
Right, because willpower burns out quickly.
Yeah, I can just use environment design. If I leave my phone in another room while I work, my conscious mind doesn't have to battle my biological impulses. The easiest option is just to keep working.
You're solving the behavioral side by making the right choice, the default choice. But al-Masih points out that all these daily habits, like leaving your phone in the next room, eventually have to point toward something bigger.
Which brings us to the peak of his framework, right? Existential sovereignty.
Yes. At the top of this entire system is what he calls existential courage.
Existential courage. I love that term.
It's your ability to choose your meaning and act on it, even while accepting that you will never have absolute certainty about the universe.
It's like having a compass in a thick fog. You can't see the final destination, and you don't have all the answers, but you still have the courage to pick a direction and take a step.
Exactly. You don't need to control the entire ocean. You just need the courage to stay on the board.
Wow, that courage to move forward despite the fog is exactly what grounds the entire concept of sovereignty.
It really is. It ties everything together.
Well, as you go about your day, we want to leave you with this to mull over. What if the inner tension and conflict you feel daily aren't signs of personal failure?
Right.
What if that friction is actually the profound sound of your own existential courage waking up?